Okay, we would like to welcome everyone to our City Council meeting tonight. And we will start with Gary Davis will offer our Pledge of Allegiance, after which we will have a thought and a prayer by Chance Thomas from the Bountiful Central Stake. Thank you so much, Chance, for that beautiful thought and prayer. And thank you, Gary, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now move to our public comment period. Anyone can come and speak to the council for 2 minutes. If you're interested in doing that, please come and state your name and address. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay, we will close our public comment period, and now we will consider the approval of minutes from previous meeting held on June 21st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We will now give council reports. We will start with Councilwoman Segura Bar.
I have nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Price Hewish.
I have to report that the Bountiful Davis Arts Center is continuing its concert series, and they have a concert this week on Thursday night at the Bountiful Davis Arts Center. You can get tickets online, and it's likely to sell out, so I would just recommend if you're interested in that. I can't remember the name of the band. Should look that up. But anyway, it's going to be great. They always are. Thank you. Hot House West. Yep, great band.
Thank
That's all.
you. I will just briefly put a plug in for Hound Cart Days this coming weekend. It's taking some people by surprise since it's not the same weekend as the 24th of July. But this Friday night, there's a concert. There's activities in the park Friday and Saturday. Saturday morning, it will be the first time we've ever had a Saturday morning parade, and then we will have fireworks Saturday night. So Handcart Days this weekend. Hopefully everybody will come out and enjoy. It'll be a fun activities. Councilman Bell.
I think the only thing I have is that the BCYC is actively working on some service projects, and they are building a float tomorrow, and we'll be in the parade on Saturday.
Excellent, thank you. Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Just a mini report that the South Davis Recreation District, we are continuing to work on budget issues that will probably be informative in terms of whether or not the Rec District moves forward with bonding plans. Tyson has made an awesome spreadsheet to help work through those budget issues, so no final resolution on questions related to property donations or bonds yet.
Thank you. Councilman Higginson.
Nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now, I'm assuming that there's not someone here to report for Youth Council?
That's correct. They're all out of town.
Okay, thank you. We will now consider approval of the expenditures greater than $1,000 and the May financial report.
Move to approve as printed.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Is there someone here to give a presentation about the Brent Taylor Foundation? Okay. We will now move to consider approval of the purchase of a landfill GPS system from Geologic Computer Systems. Mr. Charles Benson.
Is your mic on?
Yes, it is now. Come before you this evening to have a few items for your consideration to purchase. First item is for our landfill. It's a GPS system that will go onto the compactors that will tell them a precise location of where they're at, and if we've reached 100% compaction in there, to get as most life out of the landfill as we possibly can. It will also help with our plan to increase the slope on the sides of the hill. So it'll give us precise readings of where we're at so we can put it in there once and be completed on that. We had 3 bids on this. Geologic came in with the lower price, and they have 2 systems that will go on both of our compactors. The other one came in there, only wanted to do one with a harness that would have to trade back and forth. So we felt that Geologic was the best value for the city and met our specifications. Staff recommends that council approve the purchase of the landfill GPS system from Geologic for the price of $69,685. I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Mayor, if I may, Could I ask a couple of questions? So I have two questions. First, I just was wondering, could you remind us how high the landfill is with the extension plan? The life,
So we
how
can
we
go to,
just
an-
approved that. How high is it going to get?
we can go to an elevation of 130 feet from the perimeter road.
That is amazing. And this is going to help with the compaction to aid in being able to go to those heights, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And could you also just remind, I think this would be helpful for the public to know, the landfill is such a huge resource in Bountiful City, what the expected lifespan of our landfill is with the extension. Does that, anybody have that off the top of their head? I should have asked you before, but it's impressive, the number.
I believe it was going to go to 2087, I think is what the final year was.
So
At
this
our current fill
equipment
rate.
is critical to reaching those extension limits.
Yes.
So I have one other question. Well, I can actually hold it for a minute if Councilwoman Bradshaw wants to
You go
ask
ahead.
hers. Okay, I was just curious, so, and maybe this is something maybe for administrative staff that is going through, we're approving a lot of purchases tonight. And on page 61, where it's, I'm sure Charles is going to actually present this one also with the large asphalt compactor. There is actually an analysis for the trade-in value
Yes.
of the existing equipment. And I didn't see that on the others. And I was wondering, what are we doing with, I know that the police cruisers have been stated they're going to be resold or sold, but I'm wondering, what about trade-in values? What is happening to our current equipment? Are we selling it? And if so, how does that purchase price, where does that go? Does that shovel back into the budget for that department? Are we getting trade-ins? What is happening?
Yeah, good question. So the revenue that would come from the sale of our assets just goes back into the fund. It shows up as revenue in that fund. So in the landfill fund, it would just show up as revenue from the sale of assets for that fund. And we do budget for that every year as an anticipated revenue source for each of the funds. And as part of our replacement program, actually, it's really important that we try to minimize the assets that we hang on to and that they don't accidentally become part of an increased replacement schedule. For example, if we buy a new vehicle and we hold on to the old one, if you keep doing that, suddenly they all get replaced, and without really paying attention, you've increased the size of your fleet and thus your expenditures. So in most cases, with most of our vehicles, we will have a spare piece of equipment or two. For example, we have right now 4 spare garbage trucks. Normally, we have 3. Those are to be used if one, but we're very careful about managing the size of the fleet.
So is there a good resale market for these assets that we're selling and that we're replacing with newer equipment?
We try and hit the market reasonably. It just depends on the piece of equipment. Some of it we'll use till we wear it out. A lot of the vehicles, we try to get to a point where we're selling them where our operating costs begin to exceed our, our repair costs begin to exceed, what would be reasonable for a replacement. Mm-hmm. Charles can answer the question better on some of the landfill equipment that we resell.
Most of that equipment is we've used it till its useful life is pretty much gone. And a lot of it will send to an auction, and we'll go through that auction process that way. And then those funds would then be brought back into the city, either into the general fund or into each enterprise fund.
Okay, thank you. That is really helpful information, and I appreciate that, just to know and also to share with the public that, how the old equipment is either being used to the end of its lifespan or is being sold on, at auction, like you said.
Yeah, and some of this equipment is going to be held on to for a while because we're not exactly sure when this new equipment can arrive. So we're not
Right.
going to sell ourselves short.
That's great discussion. Thank you. Any other questions?
I'm happy to make a motion. Mine was mostly that I think the GPS system is kind of a cool idea, and as we are working to make sure the residents get all that extra value by extending the life of the landfill, I just think the idea of knowing exactly where my garbage lives forever, because it's geolocated, is kind of cool. So I was just kind of geeking out on the fact that it's got all these interesting applications, and I was happy
Great.
to make a motion, but I wasn't going to go there.
Member Bradshaw, would you be okay if I made a motion?
Could I second your motion?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Is it legal for us to schedule that ahead of time, a second of a motion? So I'd like to make a motion. First of all, I want to acknowledge, Charles, that every single item on the list of purchases today is not only budgeted for, but you came in under budget on it. So thanks for that. The pickup truck was only $82, I think, under budget,
That
but
was
still
pretty
under
close.
budget.
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of a landfill GPS system for $69,685, a link belt excavator for $340,137, a Hitachi large wheel loader for $418,465, a sanitation service pickup truck for $37,918, a Dynapack large asphalt compactor for $149,762, a Bobcat skid steer for $68,802, and a Ham small asphalt compactor for $65,540, all budgeted for and all coming in under budget. And I don't have a total on that because I forgot to add one amount in.
And there's one more.
There is one more, item
15.
15. I don't know if you wanted to include that in your motion.
Uh-oh. Oh, 2 International 10-wheel chassis with the beds, hydraulics, and plows to accompany them
Yes.
for another $256,332.
Is there a second?
Nope.
Sorry, that's actually for
Wrong amount.
$481,180.
$181,180.
Thank you.
See, I've bungled it, Kate. You probably don't want to second that after all.
It's a little larger second than I was prepared for. However, having reviewed my packet, I am supportive of all of the items that were in the budget. I think the landfill is a fantastic asset for our residents that provides great value, and so I'm happy to still second your lengthy list of budgetary approvals.
It's been moved and seconded. Because this is a number of items here, I just want to assure the public that this is something that we have looked at already in the budget process. This is, although it's a lot of items, and as Councilman Higginson mentioned, it's all under budget. Does anyone have any questions about any of these items?
I'd like to make one other comment.
Please.
Mayor, this is another of those things that Bountiful has in its list of assets that the residents benefit from, like our power department, that saves our residents money every single week of the year. And it's just a great thing that insightful people set up for us a long time ago. So thanks for that.
Thank you. That's great. Charles, do you have any other comments to make in as we're looking at all of the items on your list? Is there anything else that you'd like to comment on?
These are all items that have been in our 10-year capital replacement budget for the entire time, and it went through all of the budget subcommittees as well. So you've all seen this, and it's our plan to keep our fleet up to standard and be able to serve the citizens of Bountiful.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments from council members? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes for those items.
I apologize for bungling the motion.
You
I'll
did
do
it.
better next time.
You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charles. Okay, we will now move to item 16, considering approval of additional scope and fees to the Holbrook Canyon to Ward Canyon Trail construction with Avid Trails. Mr. Brock Hill.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Appreciate your time tonight. I bring before you a reconsideration of the contract that we have with Avid Trails to build the connection between Holbrook Canyon and Ward Canyon. Ward Canyon is the canyon to the north, just there next to the B. Over the last year, as you're well aware, we've been working hard on our trail system, including revising our implementation plan, revising our trails maps, and those things that are leading us in the direction that we're going in terms of overall trails for the whole mountain up there behind us. This is part of that, and it, as Avid has gone out and used our new implementation plan and the new map from IMBA Trails or Trail Solutions, we're realizing that what we originally had planned isn't necessarily going to work. When they got out and got boots on the ground and started doing some ground truthing, the distance it's going to take to get out of the bottom of Holbrook Canyon up on top, and then from the top down into the bottom of Ward, is going to add some miles to that trail, just because we're going to have to lengthen those out to make it feasible for folks to use. We're trying to use the guideline, the design parameters that's being used currently for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, which is a plus or minus 5% in general, and then not maxing out more than 10% grade. So as we go, you can tell why we're starting to lengthen out in distance. The other part of that is that we're increasing their scope in terms of a bridge. We want to do a bridge partway up Holbrook Canyon, which helps us get into the south end of the canyon, up the north face of, the north facing slope of Holbrook Canyon up on top into Christmas Tree Trail. That way we can get citizens back up into places where they probably haven't been in years. And we want to make use of that trail. It's going to be part of our overall trail maps and mileage as we move forward, so it's going to be a valuable part of that whole system. We realized that the connection from Sessions Trailhead up to where this new trail will cross Holbrook, and then also where the trail crosses Ward down to the B, we realize that those are really kind of a disconnect right now, and staff is working on managing that, trying to figure out how to make those more feasible for the majority of the users. So we realize that that's part of an ongoing process. We realize that that's something that's going to have to happen rather soon so that we can utilize what this trail is going to be as it gets built. The things that you probably should be aware of in the new contract, we talked about the rugged slopes coming up and out of the bottom of the canyons. We talked about the grade, keeping the grade at 5%. We also talked about the alignment. It used to be further up the hill, but we're bringing that down. It's all on city property, and it's going to be further down the hill. That way it's more accessible to the majority of users. Keeping it in that 5% also is going to be important for the basic user. So we're trying to appeal to that entry-level hiker, biker, trail runner, that type of user group. And then we also talked about the bridge. So those are things that you need to keep in mind. The other thing is the distance we're adding. We're adding about 4.7 miles of trail to the original 2. So by the time we get from the top of whatever this mountain is called, down into Holbrook, back out of Holbrook, across the Temple View area, down into Ward, it's going to be about a 6 miles is what we're estimating. And then we're going to add the bridge. So all of that is part of this new contract that's being renegotiated with Avid. They're on board. We have them ready to go. Once they finish with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail that they're currently working on with Davis County, they'll move directly onto our project. So we anticipate that probably within the month or first part of August. So we look to start building trail rather soon up there. With that, I'll offer the recommendation that the council approve the additional costs associated with this contract renegotiation and adding the additional scope and fees as outlined in the amount of $256,332. And I'll take any questions at this time.
Brock, I had a question. As I was reading through here, I thought I understood there would be 2 trails, one in the Holbrook Canyon side and one on the Ward Canyon side. But on the dollar total, that we have just the one Holbrook Canyon Bridge for 75,000. Did I misunderstand that? Was one bridge already included in the prior approval, or?
No, we had to renegotiate the number, the cost of that bridge. What they originally estimated isn't going to work for what we're looking at, and the location that this trail has to cross the canyon, the creek, Holbrook Creek. It's much wider, so the span's going to get bigger. Of course, the supporting structural members are going to get bigger. Everything gets bigger, so cost increases. That's the additional cost. So the one bridge in Holbrook, not one in Ward.
Okay, so Ward is not at this point getting a bridge.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was not tracking. And then Avid really thinks they'll be done in North Canyon to Mueller Park.
That's what they're telling us, so,
I did
Yeah.
check out part of that on Sunday.
yeah.
Excellent. What other questions?
The question, I'm just wondering, can you give us, this is just off the cuff, but I'm wondering if you could give us any kind of estimate or comparison to what that 5% grade looks like from maybe a trail that we might be more familiar with or people might be utilizing more?
Okay, so if you've ever been to North Canyon Park and walked on that asphalt trail down into Scrub Oak, that's usually plus or minus 5%. The one up in Eggett Canyon, if you've been to Eggett Park, the first section of that is about 5%, then it grows to about 10 to 15%. So Eggett Park is a good sampling of what this trail would be, although not paved. So for the general user that's been in our parks, that's pretty typical.
And that's you're saying that you'll keep the grade at no steeper than 5% as it goes from Holbrook over to Ward?
No steeper than 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're allowed in the design parameters to be up to 10, only for a short distance. Primarily, it'll be 5%. So I don't know if anybody's been on the new section of Bonneville Shoreline Trail, even though it's not open. I know that there's a lot of folks that's been up there using that. That's pretty standard of what this will be,
And
Maybe.
maybe. The climb out of Holbrook up on top and then from the top down to Ward will be the most difficult sections of this to build,
Maybe,
as you can imagine.
and maybe along those lines, coming in and out of a canyon is much steeper than going across the hillside. And I want to just make a motion that we approve this additional scope for $256,332, and appreciate you keeping the big idea in mind and moving this trail closer and more accessible to our community and our citizens, and making it more, the slope more accommodating to a wider range of users.
Yeah. We consider this really a collector trail for the rest of the trail that's going to be above that. So, yeah, we want to keep this pretty simple, pretty easy for the standard user.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Rob, I'm-
opposed? That motion passes.
Mayor, could I ask just a couple more questions? Sorry, but did you say that the Sessions Trail will also link into this trail? As you go up, the parking area, as you go up on Sessions, this will link onto this new trail as well?
Yeah,
And is that part of this build-out cost?
it is not. So this trail the cost associated with this trail is just the new trail from Ward to Holbrook and the
Okay.
bridge.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, we are up to Chief Beeler to consider approval of the purchase of 2 police vehicles from Performance Ford.
Mayor and members of the council, thanks for your time tonight. I was hoping that Councilman Higginson was going to just lump my entry into his gigantic entry of motions, but I didn't get that lucky tonight, so here we are. The following is a request for your approval to purchase 2 police vehicles. Funding for the vehicles is included in our fiscal year '23 budget. The vehicles to be purchased are 2 Ford Explorers assigned to administration. The Explorers will be purchased locally at Performance Ford at the price of $33,987 apiece. Performance Ford is not a dealer on the state contract site. However, we did get two prices that were on the state contract site, and Performance Ford was still underneath those two bids, which were included in your guys' packet, I believe. Those came from Young Automotive Group and Ken Garf. The two vehicles that we're replacing, these two will be sold or traded in, whatever is the best value for us. And those are a 2017 Ford Explorer with 99,916 miles and a 2016 Ford Explorer with 83,723. So I respectfully request your approval to purchase two police vehicles in the amount of $67,974. And I'll entertain any questions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Glad that worked out. That local dealership was the low bid. It's great. Thank you. Okay, we will now consider approval of Resolution 2022-11, which approves the Steel Solar 1A project amended. Mr. Alan Johnson.
Yes, Mayor and Council, it's a privilege to be here tonight to discuss this, although I'm unfortunate that we have to come back again. This is a project that we actually approved in November of 2020. One of those things that we're finding with supply chains as we're moving our way through this is it's hard to get materials and it's hard to get things built. What we're looking at here is that the Steel Solar, which is located in Box Elder County, came to UAMPS, which is really the one putting it all together. And there's two phases, there's a 1A and a 1B. And we're just a member or part of the 1A. But they came in with a force majeure because what's happening is most of the solar panels are coming from China. And even though I support this, a lot of them are being built with forced labor. And so what the U.S. Customs is forcing all of them to do is to go all the way back from when you mine the crystals to start with and the coal and everything they have to do to combine it to put this together right through the manufacturing to ship it out. So it's put an additional burden and time. It has shut the plant down while they had to do it. The company that the Steel Solar Company is using them feels like they were always in compliance and didn't have a problem, although others weren't, but it's cost them all time and money. The other thing we're running into is steel's gone up, the cost of money's gone up, and they've come back to us and says, we've got to renegotiate the contract. And the force majeure drove it, but part of this is through UAMPS, we actually have a penalty if they do not come forth and make the project online. And there's like about a $5 million penalty. Well, without them doing this, it's actually more feasible for them to pay the $5 million than it is to not come back and ask for a price concession. The reason why we're still here looking for it is pricing of everything has gone up, but one of the biggest things that we're running into is transmission. And there's even a difference on this project between 1A, which we're part of, and 1B, which other members of UAMPS are not. It was the second phase. As we have transmission to bring the project in, 1B is on a limited amount. They can only bring it if available, so they're on a non-firm transmission. Transmission right now for the next 5 years in the Wasatch Front is going to be extremely difficult, and we'll probably be talking about in the future with some of the other resources we're dealing with. Trying to get what they call the queue to bring transmission in, to bring it into the city is getting to be a big issue. So basically, they've come back and says, number one, they have to extend the time. This project was supposed to be on no later than December of this year, and they've now extended it back to where it'd be September of 2023. So we will not be on for next summer. It's going to be next year. We are currently have 6.45 megawatts, or 16% of this project, and it's roughly 645 homes if you compare to what we put on roof. So it's a pretty decent project. What they're asking for pricing-wise for this 25-year contract, would to go from 31.35 or 3.1 cents up to 3.466 cents per kilowatt hour. So It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's still a fair amount of money when you look at it over a period of 25 years and the 6 megawatts of project. We've looked at it as staff and through UAMPS and even the Power Commission. We still believe because this has a transmission path, it still will bring it on. If we go back and start now looking for a new project that we've been on now for 2 years, we could be 3 to 5 years to bring it back on again. So the Power Commission and staff would recommend that we approve the revised contract with the change and allow you to sign that contract as well as approve it through resolution 2022-11, authorizing the contract to keep everything in order. So that would be our recommendation.
Any questions?
Mayor, I've got a question. With the, I was curious, with this new timeline and the other cities that are involved in this project, have any other cities dropped out of this?
Not out of this project,
Not
no. And in fact, there are others that are saying if you drop out, we'll pick it up. So at this point, we don't anticipate either in 1A or 1B, anybody will be dropping out of it. I will say, it's just like us, nobody's excited about coming back to a contract. I mean, this is plowing new ground for me. Typically, you get a contract that just gets followed, but we're plowing new ground at this point. But no, at this point, I believe you'll have 100% of the cities will support this one.
Okay, I was just wondering if there were opportunities for us to increase our percentage or kilowatts, but
I do not think we will. I mean, if there was an opportunity, I think it would be worth coming back and talking to us, especially if we could get in the 1A that has the transmission path for it.
okay.
Any
Great.
other questions?
I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-11, approving the UAMPS amended Still 1A power supply agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.